Today from the Global Lane, Trump takes a historic step into North Korea. What now? Xi agrees to resume trade talks as the streets of Hong Kong turn violent over communist rule. Boko Haram and Fulani herdsmen slaughter Christians in Nigeria. Motivated by more than Islamic Jihad? Iraqi Christians, free from ISIS but not free from their suffering. And why Americans should be proud of their country. And it's all right here on the Global Lane. Groundbreaking, historic. It was one small step for Donald Trump, one giant leap for U.S.-North Korea relations, as President Trump became the first sitting U.S. president to enter North Korea. It happened on the last day of June, an impromptu meeting at the DMZ with North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un.
I
believe, just looking at this action, this is an expression of his willingness to eliminate all the unfortunate past and open a new future.
Joining us with more on the historic Trump-Kim meeting in North Korea is CBN News Asia reporter Lucille Talusan. Lucille is in Hong Kong covering the pro-democracy demonstrations. So, Lucille, we'll get to the Hong Kong situation in a few moments, but first, I know you covered both the Singapore summit and the one last February in Hanoi, and we saw optimism after the first Trump-Kim meeting, then turned to pessimism when the Vietnam summit ended early. The talks were broken off there. So what now?
As Secretary Pompeo has said, they are having the nuclear talks again with their teams. This time, they're bigger teams. I think also one thing that should be improved is that they should have a common definition of denuclearization.
What do they have to do? So you say they have to have a definition of what that actually means, denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula.
Right, because they may have different expectations. Kim Jong-un was not ready to give up some of the nuclear sites. And so, that is, I think, one of the major things that they should settle.
Okay, well, I have to move on and ask you about China. Before meeting with Kim, President Trump met in Japan with Chinese President Xi, and those talks on trade and tariffs are back on. What's the hang-up? They were close to a deal earlier in the spring. So, Lucille, what do you think? What's going on now?
The issue is having a enforcement mechanism. When in the case that China, they don't do their obligations, that the tariffs on the Chinese goods will just snap back, automatically. And this is something missing. And foreign stakeholders are also scrutinizing if there is a strong mechanism that will really make China do its part of the deal. And as we know, President Trump has always been upset with, the theft of China of U.S. intellectual property and placing higher tariffs on American goods and America placing lower tariffs on the Chinese goods, which is really unfair. So, this is the issue now, is having this enforcement mechanism.
Yeah, that's important to the U.S. and to President Trump. So finally, Lucille, you're in Hong Kong. It's been 22 years since the handover of that territory and city back to mainland China. We've seen protests before on the anniversary of the handover, but not this many. What's different this time?
Close to 1 million people joined this democracy March for Democracy in celebration of the 22nd anniversary of the handover of Hong Kong to mainland China. But it turned out to be violent during the night, in the evening, as we can see in some of the footage. And we were there. We were there with my cameraman when they began, storming into the Legislative Council building. And I think this is bad.
Why did they do it, Lucille? Why did they storm the building?
Yeah. This is showing their anger and their desperation, but it's sad because the march was peaceful. There were children, there were people from all classes were there. They were high school students and college students, and they're very emotional and they're very angry with Carrie Lam's management or Carrie Lam's proposal of the extradition bill.
I know that there are many Christian demonstrators, are there not? They've been singing Christian hymns and so forth.
Yes. As a matter of fact, we also witnessed the prayer meetings. There were 2 prayer meetings before the March for Democracy, and they were singing and they were praying for Jesus, for the Lord Jesus to reign in Hong Kong. And as I interviewed a pastor, he said that when they sing worship songs, it brings calm, to the people, and they're surprised when other people sing with them.
I would say a little more prayer and a little less violence there would probably go a long way in Hong Kong. Lucille Toulousan, we're out of time, but thank you for joining us from Hong Kong. Thanks for being with us with those insights.
Thank you, Gary.
Roman soldiers destroy the Second Temple of Jerusalem. Centuries of eyewitnesses say the temple treasures survived. But where are they?
They went from Jerusalem to Rome, Rome to Carthage, Carthage to Byzantium.
Historians are silent about what happened to it next.
This is a bad omen.
Hosted and narrated by Gordon Robertson.
So does it still exist today?
CBN Documentaries presents a story of mystery.
Where is it?
Calamity.
Most of the victims were butchered.
And destiny.
The possibility to dig is impossible.
Take a journey to find Treasures of the Second Temple, a CBN Documentaries presentation, coming July 8th.
It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
Young people, millennials, are flocking to church.
It's not an exaggeration to say that we love to meet them and that we love to know their stories.
Come home to the Southern Gospel Station from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern gospel favorites. CBN Southern Gospel. Available now at cbnradio.com.
Christian persecution in Nigeria gets little media attention, but Christians in that country are suffering every day, and it's getting worse. Is this a religious war? Muslims waging jihad on Christians, or something more? In Washington, I sat down with Nigerian researcher Darlington Akaiso. He's author of the book Misunderstanding Boko Haram. Darlington, you spent a lot of time going back to Nigeria, interviewing people, doing a lot of research. You've come up with an amazing book about Boko Haram. What is it about Boko Haram that we in the West don't understand?
Boko Haram, from your perspective or from an outsider's perspective, is pretty much what it has become today. So what people don't know about it is how it started. But again, I'm here to tell you that Boko Haram has an ethnic component, which is very strong. It is an ethnic war which has blossomed into what it is today. So that's the piece of the puzzle where people don't easily see.
See, our viewers would assume that it's a religious war, that these are militant Muslims, terrorists, who have declared war against Christians, bombing their churches, dragging people out, murdering them. But you say it's more than that.
Absolutely. In fact, it has blossomed into a religious war. That I'm not arguing about.
It didn't start that way.
It didn't start that way. So this is an ethnic issue. If you look at Nigeria, take a look at the northern part of Nigeria. We have the Kanaris on the northeast. We also have the Fulanis and the Hausas on the northwest and the north central. Boko Haram is of the Kanaris, the northeastern part of Nigeria. But I want you to also understand that Nigeria has so many ethnicities. It's about 250 ethnic groups in Nigeria, over 300 languages. So pretty much, Nigeria is made up of independent kingdoms or states, which we pieced together into Nigeria. So when you say the Canaries, the Boko Haram, it's not just centered within the northeast part of Nigeria. It cuts into Chad. It cuts into Niger. It cuts into Cameroon. All of them together existed back in the days as one nation. So if anything happens in Nigeria, they come together to support that piece of them. What happened is back in the days, when the Hausa and the Fulani jihadists tried to take over the whole north, they were resisted by the Canaries. So pretty much that became a safe haven for other religions to come there to settle. So we have huge Christian settlements. The Christian settlement where the girls were kidnapped is called Chibok. And that is a huge Christian settlement within that area. So what happens is when there's contention between the Canaries and the Fulanis, they now take on the anger that comes from them gets taken on the Christians. Why would you go kill the Christians who they've done nothing to you? So Christians now become a victim of the tension between the Canaries and the Fulanis.
You say initially it was not a religious war, but it's become that.
That's right.
Is it still that, and why?
Now it has blossomed into everything, even much more than a religious war. Because the Canaries have no voice. The Canaries are not represented on the Nigerian discussion table because of the majority of Fulanis which take over the north. So now the Canaries, in order to get a voice, they've availed themselves to everything, be it ISIS, be it politicians. Whoever wants to use them for an evil cause is free to use them. So this is what they have become, which wasn't the intention from day one.
So they're being used?
Yes, they're being used.
How about the Fulani herdsmen? I had one individual tell me, look, the average Fulani cannot afford an AK-47 to go and kill Christians and raid their villages and slaughter Christians. So where are they getting the AK-47s for? What's that all about?
Gary, you're reading my mind. My view on this is from my personal research. Others may argue about it, but I do have points and I do have facts to defend this. The Fulani headsmen, if you look at it, to me, it's a contention of whenever we have the Canaries in top positions of power. When the Canaries are placed in top positions of power, and again, if you look at it, a Canary man and a Fulani man, when they see each other, there is tension because the Canary people have always lived a life believing that they were not overtaken by the Fulanis. So they pride themselves with that.
They don't want to submit.
Up till now, they're not submitting. So we also have elements of people in power. We have the National Security Advisor, we have the Director of EFCC, top positions of power, who are of Canary origin. So pretty much this doesn't seem to go well for the Fulanis. And this has become a reaction of why we will have Canaries in top positions of power. So what happens now when the Fulanis drift to the south? They don't drift for them to graze their cattle, they drift to kill, and they kill just anybody. And we've seen this happen more whenever people of Canary descent get into high positions of power.
So would they be killing these people if they weren't Christian?
In fact, when they come to kill, they kill everyone, Christians inclusive.
So it isn't necessarily a religious war.
When it comes to the Fulani headsmen, they kill everyone. Then it goes way beyond the religious war, which takes us back into the ethnic war of which it initially was.
So it's all about power, control, who controls the land, who controls the money, who controls the government.
Absolutely.
Are you suffering from feeling tired or worn out during the day? Can you not turn off your brain at night? You are not alone. Hi, I'm Dr. Michael Bruce, the Sleep Doctor, and I've partnered with the Christian Broadcasting Network, and we're going to bring you some unbelievable information that you can use tonight to get a better night's rest.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free copy of Protect Your Sleep today.
If you want to be an attorney with a passion for serving people and for excellence, Regent University needs to be high on your list.
Regents award-winning law school doesn't just create lawyers. We create leaders, judges, prosecutors and defense lawyers, civil litigators, and leaders in government.
My focus has been trying to really make sure we have the future leaders we need for the bench and the bar and for society generally.
You'll learn from highly credentialed leaders who are current and former judges, distinguished scholars, and ACLJ counsel.
I'm so glad I chose Regent. The relationships here have been amazing. The faculty have been amazing. Not everybody's called to the same thing when they leave law school, but they're called by a God who has a purpose for their lives, and He is going to use that education to make a difference in the world.
Regent will prepare you to be a purpose-driven, practice-ready lawyer. To start your rewarding law career, complete the online application, submit your transcripts, and take the law school admissions test by July. Apply today.
If you want to be an attorney with a passion for serving people and for excellence, Regent University needs to be high on your list.
Regents award-winning law school doesn't just create lawyers. We create leaders, judges, prosecutors and defense lawyers, civil litigators, and leaders in government. Ready to become a purpose-driven, practice-ready lawyer? To start your rewarding career, complete the online application, submit your transcripts, and take the law school admissions test by July.
As Americans celebrate their independence from Great Britain, many Iraqi Christians are back in their homes in the Nineveh Plain, enjoying their freedom from ISIS, at least for now. 5 summers ago, I visited Iraq as Christians fled in desperation when Islamic State jihadists overran their villages. The international community responded and helped tens of thousands of Iraqis thrust into refugee status. Some had lived comfortable lives. Now they were totally dependent on God and the charity of others. I recently met in Washington with Philos Project fellow Juliana Tamarazi of the Iraqi Christian Relief Council, and she told me the struggle for many Iraqi Christians is far from over.
As you know, ISIS had decimated almost the entire Nineveh Plain. So these people have returned, but they've returned to mostly destroyed homes, burnt homes. Their shops, their farms have been looted. So as they have returned, as the world powers are trying to help, especially the U.S. through USAID, the help is coming to them, but very slowly. And a lot of NGOs like mine, the Iraqi Christian Relief Council, is stepping in to fill the gap as the world powers are, sending money slowly in for infrastructure building. But what is really remaining is the lack of jobs, Gary. Jobs are not really being created as quickly as we want. The economy is not moving as quickly as we want. So, and the Christian community in Iraq have historically been self-sufficient. They've been great contributors to the fiber of life in Iraq.
Prosperous.
Very much so. Doctors, lawyers, farmers, engineers. And there's something about Middle Easterners that when they're not working, especially the Christians in Iraq, when they're not working, they feel that their dignity is stripped away from them. So there's that trauma factor that the world is ignoring right now. So I personally, as the head of Iraqi Christian Relief Council, I encourage the world to really start creating jobs in a land that really needs to be revived economically.
Now people are reluctant to invest in Nineveh and that area when they're still uncertain about security because there's still pockets of ISIS there, correct?
That is correct, but this has been something that we've been plagued with for over 1,400 years. We've been repeatedly attacked over and over again for centuries, and that has not stopped us from rebuilding. I'll give you an example. So for example, if you consider when Hurricane Katrina hit the U.S. shores, and those people did not leave their cities, but the entire country came around them and helped them rebuild, knowing that in fact there might be another hurricane on the horizon coming within the next few years. So that's usually the comparison that I try to draw. And what my ministry tries to do now, as we speak, we have a campaign called Plant Hope in Nineveh. We aim to start 10 businesses in the city of Tilkif, which is on the outskirts of Mosul. We so far, thanks be to God, have been able to start 2 barbershops. We need to open up 8 more stores, grocery stores, small restaurants. Why do we want to do that? Why do we want to focus on building businesses rather than just what we usually have done, provide food for them, because you are teaching them how to fish, right? You are giving them that opportunity that they used to have because they had everything before.
So it's investing and building rather than just giving someone a handout.
Exactly.
And not that they don't need the handouts. I'm sure many still need food and so forth because they don't have the jobs. Now what about, we're hearing that Bartella, which has been a Christian community for many years, Christians have gone back there and they're finding hostility there. Tell us about what's going on in Bartella.
So unfortunately, the community that was once persecuted in the hands of ISIS, the Shabak Shiites, now are coming out being sort of persecutors, if you will, or harassers, if you will. They are backed by Iran, and the Iranian Shiite influence in the Nineveh Plain is extremely worrisome for us. The Shabaks are, as I said, backed by Iran. They're equipped with weapons. So they're starting to act like thugs. They're starting to inflict intimidating tactics on the Christian community, on the Assyrian community in Bartella. For example, about a month and a half ago or so, there was a woman and her daughter that were attacked. And the government tried to portray this as an isolated case, as just a regular crime, and the man was apprehended who was a Shabak Shiite Muslim. But really, that's what we believe is to be a form of an intimidation tactic for people to know that you're not welcomed in your ancestral homeland. This is an Islamic land, and you need to leave what ISIS was doing. I'm not comparing Shiite or Shabak Shiites at this time to ISIS. But we're afraid. We're afraid that they are rising and they're becoming powerful.
And this is one of the oldest churches in the world.
To me, Iraq is like a second Holy Land with Daniel, with Prophet Nahum in the city of Al-Qosh that is in northern Iraq. So Iraq really used to be a beautiful mosaic. A microcosm of tolerance for a long time, of coexistence, but that has been torn apart. And my heart's desire, Gary, is for us to make Nineveh Plain a place where reconciliation will happen, economic development will begin, Christianity will revive.
You can't do it on your own.
We cannot do it on our own. The Lord first, and our fellow Christians and our fellow humanists.
Prophecy thousands of years old.
We were called to be a light to the world.
Being fulfilled today. Discover how. Get to life. Call 1-800-700-7000.
We consider it our duty to reach out and help others around the world.
For a gift of $10 or more, you can own the acclaimed CBN documentary To Life. Just call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com.
To treat a human, no matter what he is, which religious he have, which color he is. This is what I'm doing.
See how the people of Israel are fulfilling prophecy.
History is being written, and I want to be a part of it.
By sharing their knowledge.
In Africa, in Asia, in South America, in East Europe.
And their love.
This is how we work. This is us.
Get to life. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com.
Protect your sleep and discover how to improve the quality of your life. A free DVD or booklet from the Christian Broadcasting Network.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
5 leading experts help remove the obstacles between you and restorative sleep.
When you don't get a restful night's sleep, you wake up with an accumulation of stress.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free DVD or booklet today.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
You'll discover how food affects your sleep, how to put insomnia to rest, explore effective remedies for sleep apnea, and much more in Protect Your Sleep. Wake up to your best life and get Protect Your Sleep today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free DVD or booklet.
A new Gallup poll just out in time for Independence Day shows American pride has hit a new low. As a matter of fact, it's the lowest since Gallup started gauging American patriotism back in 2001. While 70% of adults say they're proud of the USA, fewer than half of those polled, only 45%, say they're extremely proud to be American. Only 22% of Democrats say they're extremely proud of this country, and a whopping 76% of Republicans say they're extremely proud. 8 aspects of government and society were also polled. Pride in American scientific achievements, 91%, and the U.S. military, 89% received the highest ratings. The lowest, America's health and welfare system at 37%, and only 32% say they're proud of America's political system. No surprise there. So what's the reason for this lack of patriotism and pride in America? I'm sure many liberals will blame Donald Trump. But I believe it's because of the way we are educating or not educating our children. Also, the internet has connected us instantaneously with the world. We have many outside influences bombarding us with negativity. And all of this started long before Trump arrived in the White House. As for our schools, when was the last time you saw a patriotic assembly in your local school? It was quite common for us baby boomers when we were in the public school system, but you rarely see them today. In fact, many schools no longer want students to say the Pledge of Allegiance before starting class. And in history class, they teach children to be ashamed of our country. Yes, slavery and the treatment of Native Americans are shameful. Few of us are proud of that. But let's not forget about how a ragtag colonial army overthrew the greatest military power on earth. Many of my British friends can't forget that one. So that's just one reason for Americans to be proud. And how about having pride for the Americans who stood up against slavery? Yes, it was Abraham Lincoln, a Republican president, who signed and delivered the Emancipation Proclamation and led the Civil War effort to end slavery once and for all. More reason to be proud? The suffragette movement, acknowledging the right of women to vote. And what about the Americans who fought and died, fighting to liberate Europe from the Nazis and the Third Reich? Another reason to be proud of this country. And what about those who marched in city streets to make sure African Americans were guaranteed their civil rights? I know about that when I was there. Well, how about pride in the American ingenuity that put men, American men, on the moon? Or the college students who built the world's first personal computers in a garage and later iPhones? Or how about the internet? American Al Gore created that one, didn't he? Or did he? Well, we do know for certain that an American college student created Facebook. How about the first responders who risked their lives to save others? One of those American heroes, Luis Alvarez, just passed from cancer. He rushed in to help when one of the Twin Towers collapsed on 9/11. So I could go on, but you get the idea. Yes, as you enjoy the afterglow of this nation's 243rd birthday celebration, stand proud, America. This is a great country. And remember the old adage, America is great because it is good. And if ever America ceases to be good, she will no longer be great. So America, let's continue to do good, bless others, and honor God, the true provider of our freedom. That will keep us great and give us all a reason to be proud. Well, that's it from the Global Lane. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud, and Twitter. And until next time, happy birthday, America. Be blessed.